over here. Hello, horror fans. This is Pete from the Lasser Cast, and we are marching on our way to Evil Dead Rise. My good friend over there drinking his vodka is Danny Torkel, Dr. Zayas God. Danny, we are 3 days away from Evil Dead Rise. How do you
I'm not.
feel?
I'm not.
Uh
At this time tomorrow, I'll be at the AMC Empire 25 in Midtown Manhattan, and I'll be seeing an advanced screening of it. So, Lassicast fans, you guys can check out probably a 30-second short review tomorrow, spoiler free, of course. I am super excited. I already actually have tickets to see this twice. I'm going tomorrow for this advanced screening that I got courtesy of Brooklyn Horror Festival, and I am actually going for a friend's birthday.
oh.
Our old partner Chris, his longtime girlfriend Denise's birthday this coming Saturday. We're going to the Alamo in your old neck of the woods, Staten
Nice.
Island,
Oh, no.
and we're going to see that. And of course, as a good parent, I'm bringing my 12-year-old to see Evil Dead Rise.
Of
Very
course.
excited.
Yes.
Yeah, I've been scoping out some of the advanced reviews. I have not read any. I've not read any reviews in full, but I'm so excited. A lot of people in the horror community seem to be loving what they've seen so far in advanced screenings. So I can't wait. I'm very excited. I'm going straight from work tomorrow into the city, and yeah, it's going to be
Awesome.
good.
Yeah, so Danny and I have covered a whole bunch of different Evil Dead connected movies, right? We covered Evil Dead 2013. We covered Drag Me to Hell by Sam Raimi. We covered Maniac Cop starring Bruce Campbell.
We also
And
covered Darkman, Sam
Darkman.
Raimi, and Bruce Campbell.
Yes, so there's always been that sort of Sam Raimi component or the Bruce Campbell component, maybe both. I feel like the closest that we've gotten to Evil Dead Rise was our Evil Dead 2013 review. You can watch all of these on the channel, or if you're listening in the podcast, you can listen to all these on your podcast streaming services. But today, I feel like this movie is giving us a really good taste of what Evil Dead could be like, because this is the debut film of director Lee Cronin, The Hole in the Ground. And I think that we really get a good taste of his style. But I feel like the Hole in the Ground movie is going to be very different in terms of like story. You used a word before we started recording. You said this movie is very minimalist. And I kind of wanted you to kind of tell us a little bit more about that.
If you haven't seen The Hole in the Ground, it's streaming on Paramount Plus, first of all. That way, if anybody wants to check out Lee Cronin's first film before you go see Evil Dead Rise, check it out on Paramount Plus. I felt this movie was minimalist because it's pretty straightforward. It involves a woman who lives alone with her son. They have a house out in the woods, which just by saying that out loud makes you think of Evil Dead, or at least the original.
Right.
They come upon in the forest. They come upon this titular hole in the ground,
Right.
and the whole movie is basically, it's really for about, I would say 2/3 of its runtime. It kind of works as this psychological thriller or this almost a mystery of is something actually going on? Is there some kind of supernatural thing going on? Or is this woman just going crazy?
Right.
Yeah. And there's no big elaborate set pieces. There's no big jaw-dropping special effect moments. There's some like good makeup effects here and there. But you know, you see creatures a little bit, but nothing that would stick out to you as like, you know, super big budget effects.
Right.
So it really did kind of feel like a person making a low budget horror movie.
Right.
And I think that for what it is, I think it's really effective.
Mm-hmm. There are two movies that I thought about when I was watching this, and I wonder if you thought about them too. And these are two good movies for me to be thinking about. I thought about The Descent, and I thought about
The Witch. Oh,
no,
no,
not
okay.
The Witch.
I
No,
was
no,
trying
no.
to. I was seeing if I could coordinate if we could have like a telepathy moment. But okay.
Oh no, 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 no. The Descent, and then also The Babadook.
Yeah. I could totally see fair comparisons to both of those movies
Yeah,
for different reasons. Yeah,
right.
definitely.
I think
I
visually, I definitely felt The Descent. Like it definitely felt like a movie by what's the guy that directed it? It's Marshall, Neil
Neil
Marshall, right?
Marshall.
Yeah, I kind of felt his influence on this movie. What do you think?
I mean, the only movie of his that I've no, I'm trying to think.
You
I've
saw
seen
Doomsday,
others.
right?
What?
You saw Doomsday?
I've never actually made it straight fully through that movie. I always like wanted to watch it, and I just for some reason I've missed it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what the other movie. Oh, Dog Soldiers.
Dog
That's the
Soldiers.
other movie. So I love Dog Soldiers and I love The Descent.
Yes.
I could totally see, even Dog Soldiers is like, enclosed in the woods in a small little house with, evil forces trying to get in. It's werewolves in that movie, but
Right.
I could see maybe the influence of Neil Marshall on this.
Yeah.
I thought of The Witch because of just the setting, the idea of running off into the woods and getting lost, and then being suspicious of who comes out of the woods, and that made me think of Robert Eggers' The Witch. But this movie came out in 2019, so The Witch came out before this. 2019. Right. I was actually talking about this with Chris the other day.
Sure.
2019 is, for my money, the best year of pure cinema in recent memory. That's the year that Parasite won Best Picture. Mm-hmm. I remember how hard it was trying to make a top 10 list that year. And for horror movies, it was an insane year. We talked so much about last year being this epic year for horror. 2019, this was a movie that didn't crack my top 10. That if this movie would have come out in, any other year, it's making my top 10. Maybe not my top 5, but it's probably sneaking into my top 10. I really think it's an effective little movie. It's creepy as hell. As a parent, I have some strong feelings at various points.
Right.
But 2019, man, that was the year of Dr. Sleep. There were so many great foreign horror films that came out that year. So it just an amazing year of movies overall. So I think it kind of got lost in the shuffle because of that. And because it was, again, very low budget. I know it was bouncing around streaming. I don't know if I saw it the first time, if it was on Netflix or on Prime, but it was definitely like one of those movies that I think Chris had recommended to me and I watched for free on a streaming service. And like I said earlier, now if you haven't seen it, it's on Paramount Plus.
Paramount Plus, yeah.
So yeah, it's also minimalist when it comes to the cast. There's really two main characters in this movie.
Yeah.
The mom, Sarah, played by Shauna Kerslake. I think that's how you pronounce her name. I did watch a YouTube interview with her and the director, and I heard her pronounced as Shauna.
Yes.
She is Irish, so, Irish names are incredibly hard to pronounce, to translate from written to speech. And her son, Christopher, played by James Quinn McKay.
Yes.
Every other character in the movie is kind of tertiary or even further out. I did love that James Cosmo is in this movie.
Yes.
He plays the husband of this crazy woman, and you will recognize him the second you see him because he is most famously, I think, in Braveheart.
Right. He's the crazy, father of the friend. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But then also he's in Game of Thrones. He's in a lot of genre stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, of course he's in Game. He's on the he's in
charge of the Watch. He's in charge of the Watch. Yeah.
Yeah. He's been in a ton of things. Yeah, really great actor. But really, it's a movie about the mom and the son, and the initiating event happens very soon after the credits are done, and then you're basically left for 2/3 of this movie wondering if you are going crazy with the mother or if the mother is onto something and there is something kind of supernatural going on.
Right. Yeah, and I love those kinds of movies. I love the movie where it's like, wait, is it someone just being mentally ill or is it something supernatural? What would you say? Like, would you say that it's more common that there is actually a supernatural thing and the person was onto them the whole time? Or do you think it's more common that the person was crazy and there wasn't a supernatural thing?
I think, unfortunately, I think the answer is usually that there ends up being some kind of supernatural thing.
Right, right.
And I have to be honest, I think this movie's main shortcoming for me is the final act of the movie, only because I love a good descent into madness.
Yes, yes.
And as a viewer, I was actually more intrigued by the movie as a what the hell is actually going on?
Right.
Like with subtle hints, some a little more, not so subtle as the movie goes on. But once the movie like basically reveals itself, I thought like, okay, now it's gone down this, kind of supernatural, literal wormhole at the end.
Right, right.
And okay, so there's, there is something else going on out there. And I thought it kind of let it down a little bit at the end. And not even because it doesn't fit within the movie, but just because I think an extra 15 to 20 minutes of psychological tension of is this boy, has something happened to this boy? Has he been replaced with some kind of evil doppelganger? Or is it just the mom being hypnotized by this local myth that she's heard about?
Yeah.
And is she going crazy being alone in the woods? She's obviously a victim of domestic violence. So is she, paranoid, and is she starting to go crazy? Or is this kid really a doppelganger and some kind of evil, malevolent force? I thought if the movie would have gone 15 extra minutes without revealing itself and then just ended, it would have been a great mind fuck of a movie. And it probably would have ranked even higher for me. But I feel like that might have been maybe, I don't want to put, if that's the movie Lee Cronin was making, then power to him. It just kind of feels like we needed some kind of, if we're going to give you money to make this movie, you need there to be some kind of like hook to it at the end that's going to draw like viewers,
Yeah, I do. Yeah. It's interesting because like, it also reminds me of one other thing that you haven't seen yet. I don't really want to spoil it too much, but The Outsider, the Stephen King adaptation that's really, really good on HBO.
I just naturally assumed you were going to say something David Lynch.
Oh, yes. That is kind of my 9 times out of 10 suggestion. Yeah. But,
I did
oh, no. Danny, I lost you. Are you there?
Sorry. Yeah, I'm there. I got it. You see me? I got a spam call, so I just had to delete it out. I did read did I read The Outsider? I read the trilogy I read the Mr. Mercedes trilogy.
That has a character from The Outsider.
Holly, right?
Holly, right.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say is there is a creature in The Outsider that can take on the appearance of other people. And you know the creature's motive by the end of the miniseries. You know why it's impersonating people, right? In this, full spoilers for this movie, The Hole in the Ground. There are actual doppelganger creatures. That's what Danny's talking about, is that it's revealed that there are actual creatures in this hole in the ground. And essentially, if they touch you, they can mimic you. And that also reminded me of a movie that I like a lot too, Annihilation. And even the creatures themselves kind of looked like the creature at the end of Annihilation too.
Yeah, I can see it.
But I'm comparing it to all these other things, but that's not to say that this movie is very derivative or that it's like stealing from these things either. It's just like a visually great movie, and it has sort of these like universal ideas of is this person the person I thought they were? Are they changed? And so it's not like a ripoff of other things. It's just it reminds me of other things. But my point I was trying to make though is that when you start to reveal that there are creatures out there and that they are doing things, then your mind starts to go, okay, well, they're these creatures that live in the ground. How do they know how to speak our language? Or like, what are they trying to do? Are they replacing people so that they can eat them? You start to go in that direction, and then there's no real answers. So I get what you're saying of like, if there was more time devoted to like, is the mom crazy? Is she going to
Yeah.
do something? That would make the movie more entertaining. And I think we could have done more things where it seemed like maybe the mom could have appeared abusive or dangerous, right? We do see the mom like flake out, and when she goes to like the kids choir presentation, she like runs away from him. But and she does lock him in the basement too at one point at the end.
Yeah.
But I agree with you that like if there was more kind of bordering on, is this poor kid trapped with his mom who might be crazy, I think that actually would have made it more interesting.
I do want to just compliment some of the parts of the movie. There are some shots in this movie that are really freaking great. Like right at the beginning, when Christopher, the son, is running into the woods, there's this amazing shot of her running after him. Just beautiful cinematography throughout. Even like the opening scene, where they're like on what looks like this kind of shuttered amusement park, and like the words "road to hell" were written on like one of the rides, which I thought is kind of an interesting foreshadowing for Lee Cronin's career as he's about to release Evil Dead Rise to the public.
Right.
I also wanted to shout out the music. The score in this movie is fantastic. Stephen McKeon does the score, and he does the score for Evil Dead Rise as well, which makes me very excited. And also, just the theme of this movie. The whole theme of this movie is basically a mother's relationship with her son.
Right.
And that appears to be what makes Evil Dead Rise different from the rest of the franchise. Is it's a family movie. And I don't mean bring your kids to the movie theater. I mean, it's a movie about a family in an apartment being attacked by the Deadites. And the main possessed Deadite is the mother trying to, get her children and her family.
Yeah.
Yes, Ash, of course, was brother to Cheryl in the original movie, and yes, in the 2013 Evil Dead, Mia and her brother are there as well. But this one is the first one to have children present in the movie.
Yeah.
It always raises the tension when there's young kids, especially like the main girl in Evil Dead Rise looks like she's younger than 10 years old. I would say she's younger than Charlotte and Pepper,
Yes. Oh,
both
absolutely.
of you. Yeah. So I'm very confident in Lee Cronin's ability to tell that story based on this, because I think he does sow a lot of creepy tension into this mother-son story.
Yeah.
So you add in the Necronomicon, you add in the Evil Dead lore, you add in a chainsaw and a cheese grater, and what looks like from the trailers tons of real blood. I don't mean real, like actual on-set blood and not just CGI blood.
Right.
And it makes me excited that like if he was able to do this movie just like a little Irish horror movie in like a few basic settings with a very minimalist crew and characters, what's he going to be able to do with a franchise effort? And it does make me a little somehow more excited to see Evil Dead Rise.
Yeah, well, you talk about the composer going over from this movie to Evil Dead Rise. It looks like the cinematographer Tom Cornerfield or I'm sorry, let me pull this closer on my glasses on. Kammerfeld. Holy shit. I said Cornerfield. It's Tom Kammerfeld. He's the cinematographer for this movie, and it looks like he is not the cinematographer for Evil Dead Rise. Now, I've seen the trailers for Evil Dead Rise, and it looks like a beautiful movie. It looks like it's like beautifully shot. But I wanted to say that this movie, The Hole in the Ground, it's just absolutely beautiful. I mean, you already kind of talked about that a little bit, but there are some really like breathtaking shots, and this movie has like atmosphere to spare, man.
Yeah.
Like it like the feeling of being isolated in the woods and just being away from everybody. And the feeling of being like in a dark old house, boy, does this movie like make you feel that. There are some shots too that I want to give praise to if we're talking about this movie specifically. There's this great shot when the mom is peering through a hole to just kind of keep an eye on her son, and there's like a spider that scurries across the floor, and then his fingers kind of go and mimic the spider, then he grabs the spider. That's a great shot. There's another shot where the mom puts a digital camera in this hole in the wall and puts some bricks over it just so she can get a video of him. And the way that shot setup is great. One, I think this might actually be the most effective shot in the whole movie for me, is when she finally confronts her son and he like beats her up a bit, but he beats her up off screen. And I feel like that's very effective because you don't see it. And I think it was a very wise choice on Lee Cronin's part, because essentially you have this little boy beating up a grown woman, and they don't show it, so it makes it scarier. And I think it would have looked kind of goofy if they had shown it. So
because it happens off screen, and because you see her body fly across the kitchen,
right,
that also kind of reminded me of of Lee Winnell's The Invisible Man, but that movie came out after this. That movie came out in 2020.
Yeah.
But there's a scene, where Elizabeth Banks, no, that's not true. Elizabeth Moss.
Yeah.
Yep, this isn't Cocaine Bear. Elizabeth Moss is like thrown across the kitchen by the Invisible Man, and you don't see what's happening to her 100%.
Right.
And that scene that you're referencing kind of stirred that up in my mind a little bit.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. It was good that we didn't see, like, there's those few scenes where you do get to see the kid's power,
right,
or the doppelganger's power, where like he'll push the table and the table will jolt back.
Right.
As if like a grown man shoved it as hard as he could.
Right.
So yeah, I do think I think that he really shows a lot of promise here. Like as a director, and as a horror movie director, if you could do the best that I would say, the best compliment I could say is, do I watch your movie and do I want to see the next one? And I felt this way when I first saw Flanagan's work. I felt this way when I saw Jordan Peele doing Get Out, when Ari Aster directed Hereditary. I'm eventually going to see his new movie, which is a 3-hour crazy movie that has been getting some insane reviews. Beau Isn't Afraid, or Beau Is Afraid.
Beau Is Afraid, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, to go from The Hole in the Ground to getting the Evil Dead franchise is a big jump, and I'm very excited. And I really hope that he pulls it off, because we both know horror fans. We live our lives around horror fans, both in person and online. If you can please the Evil Dead fan, you're going to be a legend in the game for years to come. Yes. If he can come out and really hit this out of the park, and hit a home run with Evil Dead fans, then the world is his oyster, as long as he wants to stay in this genre.
Yeah. Horror wise, he's got a free pass right there, man. Yeah.
I mean, because look, Fede Alvarez did Evil Dead 2013. I had never heard of Fede Alvarez.
Right.
He followed that up with Don't Breathe, which was nearly universally praised. And then since then, he's kind of bounced around to a bunch of different projects. But like, if Fede Alvarez was going to come out and make a new horror movie, I'd be there probably opening night because of how much I loved 2013's Evil Dead.
Well, then I think you're gonna be excited because he is working on an Alien movie.
Ah, crap! An Alien movie? No, I'm kidding. It's almost Alien Day.
Yeah. Oh shit. Oh my. Holy shit. We didn't even prepare for that. Oh my god. Okay. LV426. Oh my god. All right. We gotta like not talk about that. But I'm glad you brought that up. Holy
Okay.
shit. We always have an event on this channel about Alien. But okay, hold on. What's it? Fede Alvarez. I can backtrack it. Ready? The thing about him in Evil Dead 2013 is that movie, like Hole in the Ground, is like just visually beautiful as well. So I think that's maybe part of the inspiration for why they picked Lee Cronin for Evil Dead Rise. And I think that another image, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention this image, is that there's an old woman who dies in this movie, and her head, like just basically her head is buried under the ground, and then the rest of her body is sticking up out of the dirt. And then at the end of the movie, the doppelganger boy does the same thing to his mom, the main character, and her head is under the ground. And I just think that that's such a fucking striking image to have like just the head of a body face down in the dirt and then the rest just sticking up like that. And I mean, that's the kind of thing that I'll be thinking about, years from now. If we ever reference this movie, like, oh yeah, that part. So like he can make really striking imagery, and I can already tell from the trailers from this movie. Like, I think it's going to be a good, like, we're definitely going to have something to say about this movie no matter what. Evil Dead Rise,
Yeah, I mean, I'm just, I can't wait till tomorrow. I have my copy of Fangoria magazine, which I think is like subtly, without realizing it, Fangoria basically is. We've been mimicking Fangoria. We've been doing a countdown to Evil Dead Rise.
Right.
I have a 40-second short review of Renfield.
Oh, there you go.
We cover Yellow Jackets. We just posted our episode 4 review yesterday, season 2, episode 4.
Yeah, man.
This has been a great ride to Evil Dead. I will definitely, like I said, have a spoiler-free short review up tomorrow, hopefully before midnight.
Nice.
Because the movie will probably let out around 9. Yeah, I'll be home before midnight. And I'm seeing it again Saturday. So anytime you are ready to go, I'm ready to go to do a full spoiler-filled review of it.
Yeah.
I feel like we've been talking about Evil Dead Rise for months now since we first did our trailer review.
That's
back
right.
with Brian and Mike Mangiorno, and it's been great. I'm very excited.
I might actually go see it on Thursday, so I think we can do a review kind of soon, But yeah,
just shooting this out there. I'm off from work on Friday.
I kind of do have to go to work, but I might be able to squeeze out. Don't tell anybody though. But so anyway, it has been fun. If you guys have not watched The Hole in the Ground, it is on Paramount Plus right now. And Danny and I will be back this week to talk about Evil Dead Rise and episode 5 of Yellow Jackets. So make sure that if you guys have not subscribed already, please do. And let us know if you've seen Hole in the Ground, what you thought of this movie.